Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Well, this should be the last video in this format, as this is the last ride of the season for me. As you can see, I'm currently astride old Leaky Pete, my 1988 Sportster. Right now, I've just finished filling the tank and putting in the fuel stabilizer, and I'm now just taking it for a short tour to make sure the treated gas gets all the way through the fuel system. What a horrible time of year. But 2023 was not a great year for me, riding-wise anyway. It started off in February where I got a little overexcited for the season and decided to get a new bike. That was a foolish idea. I used a dealership that I've never used before and thought I'd give them a shot, and I ended up shooting myself in the foot instead. The deal I was offered sounded good, not a bad price for the new bike, and a good trade-in value for the old one. That was until I signed an agreement to purchase and put down a non-refundable deposit. That's when the problem started. The first thing the dealer did was change the value of my trade-in. All of a sudden, my 2021 Fat Boy was in need of repairs. Generally, new tires. That would usually not be an issue, except they were aware of this at the time they were valuing the trade-in to begin with. Now that they had the non-refundable money, the price changed. They even took money off the trade for a simple clutch adjustment, which, in my opinion, was not needed. This, of course, led to a higher amount to finance. Go figure. Funny how that works. Then they told me that they had a bike ready to be shipped from the factory, except they had no VIN number for it. Now, how exactly do you know there is a bike available if you have no VIN number? I don't know. Anyway, they told me that for over a month until I contacted Harley Motor Company myself about a VIN number, and what do you know? 2 hours after I contacted them, the dealership called me and said they now had a VIN and the bike was on its way. I have never had to call the factory to get a VIN for a dealership, but that's the way that went. But then the bike finally made its way to the dealer. Now, I had a few parts I wanted installed, for example, pipes, handlebars, tune, etc. I gave them a few days before I called to find out when they'd be able to deliver the bike. I was told that they did not have a delivery date. Why, you might ask? Well, that's because they neglected to order any of the parts. So I ended up having to wait another couple of weeks for the parts to show up. But come mid-April, the bike was finally in my possession. Now, it was about this time that the weather came into play. This year we had below normal temperatures through spring. We didn't have a lot of snow over the winter, at least not as much as last year. But those cooler temperatures meant that the snow would take longer to melt, therefore take longer for the season to start. Then, of course, a few days after getting the new bike I'd been waiting for, we had a 2-day blizzard that dropped about a foot of snow on us. And that set back riding even further, almost into May. So now I could finally ride my new bike, now that it was May. Well, that was only for a few weeks, because upon riding for a little while, I noticed an issue. A shifting issue. But only when downshifting. You would have to lift the shift lever up before you could shift down. So from 6th gear all the way to 1st, it was up, down, up, down, up, down, all the way through the gears. So at 1,400 kilometers, I thought I'd send the bike back to the dealership a little early for its first service and have them look at the shifting problem. Turns out it was an issue with the transmission. Only problem was, neither the dealership nor Harley Davidson Motor Co. knew what the actual issue with the transmission was. In fact, to this day, they still do not know what the specific issue was. The bike sat for weeks in the dealership while they changed various parts, attempting to repair the bike the cheapest possible way with no success. Finally, after a month of switching out parts, Harley finally agreed to change out the entire guts of the transmission. So all would be good. That was until they lost the transmission parts in transit. The parts were supposed to be sent via air with a 2-day turnaround. Once they tracked down the parts in Indiana, they then were shipped by truck rather than air. So it was supposed to be a 2-day wait, turned into about 2 weeks for the parts to show up. By the end, I was finally able to ride about July. At least the repairs were covered by warranty, so that was a bit of a silver lining. I guess all in all, after early July, things did not go too badly, but to be honest, by the time I had gone all through that, it had pretty much ruined the riding experience for me this season. The dealership buying experience was by far the worst I have ever had. Totally ruined any excitement I had to buy a new motorcycle. Couple that with the late start to the year and losing a good portion of the riding season to repairs on a brand new bike, it was probably the worst riding season I've ever had. Now, I can't really blame the weather. I have no control over that. But I do put some blame on the dealership that dicked me around trying to gouge as much money as possible out of a new customer. And I put the blame on the Harley Davidson Motor Company, especially their service department. They pissed away weeks trying to fix things for cheap before biting the bullet and switching out the transmission, then effed up the shipping on top of it. Mostly, though, I have to blame myself. Ultimately, it was me who made the choice to buy a new bike, which I did not need. So had I stuck with what I had, which was perfectly good, I would have not had most of the issues that I did. In the end, I managed to get just under 4 months of riding out of about a 6-month season. And that was my 2023. But how was yours? Better than mine, I hope. But that's about it. I'm going to let you guys go for now. Thanks for watching and letting me vent, and we'll catch you in the next one.